Welcome to Punchline. My name is Justin Sims. I am your host. This is the newest MMA show that you can catch on YouTube, and we hope that it's informative. Stuff that you're going to get on this show is previews and predictions for upcoming MMA cards. We're also going to do interviews and special up-close and personal inside looks into former and current MMA superstars, along with trainers and other MMA personalities will be along the way. Also, guys, we're going to be giving away autographed signed MMA memorabilia to random people that like, subscribe, and share our page. So stay tuned. This is going to be super easy to watch videos, and they're going to be super informative. We're going to make them short, sweet, and fun. Enjoy. All right, everybody, so this is our first episode here at Punchline. So it's not going to be a full fight card breakdown for this particular episode, but in the future, all episodes from here on out will have full fight card breakdowns. But for this one, UFC 237 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, we're just going to do the top 3 fights on the bill. Real quick, though, I'll go over the fight card, and I'll just give a little, I'll say a couple comments about some of them. So let's look here on the screen. We'll start with the early prelims. All right, now you're on that screen. Good. Okay, so early prelims here, right? 4 fights. Usually we only get 3 on the early prelims. First fight. Number 15th ranked women's bantamweight, Talita Bernardo fights number 11th ranked Melissa Gatto. Then we've got Ronnie Barcelos, who is a DraftKings stud, by the way. We'll get into that later. Is fighting Carlos Huacan. And we've also got Sergio Moraes fighting Colby Covington, one-time conqueror Warley Alves. Luana Carolina fights Priscilla Cocherea in the last early prelim fight. Moving on to the prelims that will be aired on ESPN, I believe ESPN regular. We start off with one of the legends of the sport, BJ Penn, who I think is like 1-9 in his last 10 fights. He's going to be taking on Clay the Carpenter Guida. Man, last time I looked at the lines on that fight, BJ Penn was a plus 400. So that's a huge underdog. I don't trust BJ Penn at this point in his career, especially against Clay Guida. BJ is notorious for having bad cardio, and Clay Guida's strongest attribute is that he's the Energizer Bunny. He never runs out of energy. So that's like a nightmare matchup, I think, for BJ Penn, especially at this point in his career. Moving on the main prelims here, we've got Irene Aldana, who's currently ranked number 11 in the women's bantamweight division, fights number 13, one-time Ronda Rousey shit-talking galore, and challenger Betch Correa returns. Moving on, we've got Thiago Moses fighting Kurt Holoba. And then to top off the main cards before the pay-per-view starts, we've got a legend, Brazil here, Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira, or Little Nog, as all of us diehards know him by. And he's fighting Ryan Spann. But hey, this is that one big card that UFC brings us once a year in Brazil, and they've stacked this card, guys, with Brazilian legends. So as you can see right away in the prelims, we've got a Nogueira brother. Moving on to the main card, we start the main card here out with I think it's Brazil versus Brazil in this fight. It'll be interesting to see how the crowd there, kind of chooses on this fight. But we've got number 15th ranked lightweight Francisco Trinaldo. I'm actually very surprised that he's still ranked. I know he's coming off of a win against Evan Dunham. I believe he stopped him. But then again, who hasn't stopped Evan Dunham? He's fighting Diego Ferreira, who, depending on which Diego shows up, we never really know. So that's kind of a toss-em fight. I lean towards Diego. Moving on, another legend of Brazil, and I don't recall Thiago the Pitbull Alves, ATT staple, ever fighting in Brazil. I could be way wrong on that, but I just don't remember Thiago Alves getting like a Brazil card. So I'm glad to see him here on the main card, fighting Loreno Staropoli. I'm going to go with the Pitbull on this one. I just don't see him. I think he's going to have to, Staropoli's going to have to kill the Pitbull to beat him in Brazil in front of his people. Moving on to the 3 main fights that I'm going to be talking about a little more in depth later in this video. Jose Aldo versus Alexander Volkanovski. I'll get into that later, but man, that is an explosive fight. The co-main event here, we've got Jared, the Killa Gorilla Cannonier fighting Anderson the Spider Silva. It's Anderson Silva fighting in Rio de Janeiro against a guy named the Killa Gorilla. We'll get into that one too. And then our main event, which I've been salivating for, Thug Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade, which, you know, for me, it's few and far between where there's a women's title fight that gets me really excited. The last one was Cyborg and Nunez, and that was awesome. This one has me on the same level of interest. This summer, later in July, we've got Holly Holm taking on Amanda Nunez. That's another one that I'm really looking forward to. But that's our main card, guys. Now let's get more in depth. All right, guys, let's get into the meat and potatoes of these top 3 fights on UFC 237 this Saturday night, live on pay-per-view from Rio de Janeiro. Jumping right in, guys, let's look at the tail of the tape here. All right, now we're on this page. We've got the, in my opinion, greatest 145-pounder ever, the former UFC and WEC champion, Jose Scarface Aldo. He is taking on Alexander Volkanovski, who is on a tear right now, undefeated in the UFC. Let's look at their records here. 28-4 for Jose Aldo versus a record of 19-1 for Alexander Volkanovski. But as I mentioned just a second ago, Alexander Volkanovski is undefeated in UFC right now. They're both coming off of wins. This pits Brazil versus Australia in this fight. So Alexander Volkanovski is going into hostile territory, and when I say hostile, that's an extreme understatement. Brazil's got to be the hardest place to fight unless you're like fighting Conor McGregor in a bar in Dublin. 5'7" for Jose Aldo versus 5'6" for Volkanovski. That doesn't really matter. I don't see either one of them having any weight issues. Neither one of them has ever really had weight cutting problems, although I don't know how Volkanovski makes weight. And Jose Aldo, I just saw a picture of him on his, I think it was on his Instagram. He looks jacked. So this is going to be fireworks, guys. There's actually an 1.5 inch reach advantage towards Volkanovski, but Jose kind of fights tall. I don't think that's going to be a big difference. Here we're clicking down to the win percentages, how they win, significant strike numbers. All right, so let's get my 3 keys to victory here. Okay, so for Alexander Volkanovski, my 3 keys to victory are this. 1, I think he should work the body. I mean leg kicks, and more importantly, I think working the body when it gets in tight with Jose. Jose Aldo's going to have superior footwork over Alexander Volkanovski. So going to the body early and often, it will be like putting money in the bank for Alexander Volkanovski. It will build, and it will pay off huge later on in the fight. My second key to victory for Alexander Volkanovski is show no respect. Don't go in there and at any moment go, holy shit, I'm facing Jose Aldo in Rio de Janeiro. You need to look at it like, this is another guy that I need to rip his head off. No respect. And for 3, for Alexander Volkanovski, he needs to remember that when he's going for a takedown, Jose Aldo knocks people out with knees when they try to take him down. So don't get Chad Mendez in Rio by Jose Aldo. All right, so Jose Aldo, his 3 keys to victory are: show the knee. Even if he's just fronting as a feint, it'll make Volkanovski think twice about, do I attempt a takedown? Because if I eat one of those on the way in, it could be over like that. His second key to victory for the former WEC and UFC champion, Jose Aldo Jr., would be to bring back the most vicious leg kicks in MMA. He's kind of gone away from that in his last few fights. I think if we get the Jose Aldo that implored a leg kick heavy offense against Uriah Faber, he will cripple and probably finish this fight. The third key to victory for the former champion Jose Aldo is no brawls. Don't get crazy. You can actually out-technique this guy, but Jose Aldo's a true fighter's fighter. So when he gets hit, I think his instinct is payback. So as you can see in like the Max Holloway fight, he just got in these exchanges that I felt he didn't need to get into. With a guy with Volkanovski's power, he cannot afford to get in a firefight with this guy. All right, guys, let's jump into the co-main event of UFC 237. Let's look at the tail of the tape. Okay, so the matchup stats here for Jared, the Killer Gorilla Cannonier, number 10 ranked in the middleweight division right now, which is actually, that's a little bit surprising to me. But he is going against the legend, the GOAT in a lot of people's minds, Anderson the Spider Silva, who's currently ranked number 14. That's why I'm kind of surprised. I don't know why I'm surprised at that. I just feel like Anderson Silva just went 3 rounds with the interim champ. So why is he ranked 14? I don't know. But rankings are whatever. All right, looking down here, guys, Jared Cannonier's coming in with a record of 11-4. But when you look at that record, it's important to remember that, you know, this guy started on the Alaskan MMA scene, which, you know, they've produced some talent, but it's not known as one of the elite, you know, breeding grounds for MMA talent. So the guy, you know, kind of grew out of that, you know, got too big for that little pond he was in. But he started his MMA career at heavyweight. And then he actually has a knockout at heavyweight in UFC. Then he went down to light heavy, and he's transitioned, you know, over time, and I think really well, down to middleweight, where I think he's really at his optimal prime performance peak at 185. The guy's just a monster, a physical specimen. 5'11", Jared Cannonier to 6'2". Anderson Silva is taller than a lot of the people he fights. They both have a 77.5-inch reach advantage, which is interesting. And Anderson has a 1-inch leg reach advantage. Here's their wins, percentage-wise, and how they've won. Average fight times, knockdown averages, here's the significant strikes, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's get into my 3 keys to victory for the co-main event of UFC 237. All right, 3 keys to victory for Jared Cannonier, the Killer Gorilla. 1, don't worship the god. Don't start doing this idolatry crap. Meaning, Anderson Silva is an MMA god. I mean, he's like a legend. I mean, the guy's, if there was like a Mount Rushmore for like the 4 faces of like famous fighters in the sport, his face would be on that Mount Rushmore of MMA, at least in my book. Nonetheless, he can't ever get in the moment of going, oh my God, it's Anderson Silva, and get caught in that like third eye Jedi mind trick thing that Anderson does to everybody. He needs to just look at him and go, I'm going to kill this man that's trying to hurt me. Don't worship the god. That's the first key to victory. Second key to victory is mix up your striking. He gets a little bit predictable. And I almost feel like this could turn into a very Stephan Bonner-esque fight for Anderson Silva, where he just sees the strikes coming from a million miles away. Jared Cannonier does fall in love with his right hand a little bit, but he needs to camouflage that right hand with other strikes. My third key to victory for Jared Cannonier is, if you want to take Anderson Silva down, get down. Anderson sometimes doesn't get lazy, I would call it, but he gets like complacent when he gets taken down, a la the first round in the Dan Henderson fight, a la most of the first Chael Sonnen fight. If Jared Cannonier holds down Anderson Silva for half the time that Chael Sonnen did, he will knock out Anderson Silva. All right, so Anderson Silva's 3 keys to victory are: 1, absolutely no showboating. If he starts doing what he did against Chris Weidman, this guy is going to knock his head into the small city just outside of Rio de Janeiro. So don't play games, man. Look, I know you're in front of your people, you're Anderson Silva, but just get the job done, man. Okay? Number 2 key to victory for Anderson the Spider Silva is chin down, hands up. I don't think this is going to happen at all, because Anderson's natural instinct is to drop his hands and rely on his natural, instincts and natural reflexes and speed. But reflexes and speed are the first thing to go. That's the first thing that Father Time takes from a fighter. The last thing to go is power. So, like, for example, George Foreman would still like punch like a truck hits probably. But the reflexes, look at Roy Jones Jr., where he could dodge that punch one night in the ring. Fighters age overnight in the ring. One night, he's just gonna not get out of reach of the punch. So I think if he just did some fundamental defense that we've kind of never seen from Anderson Silva, or not much of, it might save his life. Chin down, hands up, Anderson. And the third key to victory for Anderson the Spider Silva is to technique him to death. You have the ability to use superior footwork, leg kicks, flying things, a jab, great boxing, to just take this man to school. Put on a master class. You don't have to fight the guy. Take him to school, Anderson. All right, guys, let's get right into the main event of UFC 237. Let's look at the tail of the tape. Okay, so Thug Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade. Man, what a fight this is. All right, so Rose is coming in with a record of 9-3 versus a record of 19-6 for the challenger. They're both coming off of wins, obviously. Most people don't fight for titles after losses unless their name is McGregor. USA versus Brazil. So obviously, I mean, that already worries me a little bit for Rose, because, I mean, I don't know. I heard a rumor about an article that was supposedly out that Rose actually was experiencing some post-traumatic stress symptoms from the Conor McGregor bus attack. Okay, if you're having issues with that traumatic experience, and I understand that was probably terrifying, you don't know what's going on, you're on a bus, like, is this, you know, are these people robbing the place, are they got guns, you know, all types of stuff could be running through your head in a situation like that when you don't know what's happening. But when you walk into an arena to face a woman who is a complete monster with 30,000 people chanting, "You're about to die, you're gonna die," I mean, that, I think, would give you more severe PTSD, but we're gonna find out. I think Thug kind of likes to challenge her mental strength, which is super admirable, but man, it's risky. All right, so height-wise, you know, everybody has a height advantage over Jessica Andrade. She's kind of the John Lineker, Vanderlei Silva of the women's fighters. She's just built like a fire hydrant, but everybody has a reach and height advantage over her. So this is no different. The champ has a 3-inch reach advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage with the legs. This could play a significant role if Rose fights tall. Here's our win percentages and how they're broken down between knockouts and submissions. Wow, 67% of Rose's wins are by submission. Something to take note of, maybe. Significant strikes landed per minute. Holy cannoli. 6.5 strikes landed per minute from Mrs. Lineker. I mean, Jessica Andrade. Man, that's a lot of, that's 6 times too many punched by her. And the rest of it goes down by grappling percentages. 75% takedown defense for Andrade. I don't see Rose trying to take her down unless she gets hurt. I don't know. Okay, so back to my 3 keys to victories for these two fighters. Guys, this fight is so awesome. You know, you can totally disagree with my opinion because this is just an opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments below. You know, let's banter. Let's friendly debate. Let's do it. But let's get into these 3 keys to victories. All right, so for Jessica Andrade, the number 1 key to victory is bully. Bully, bully, bully. Put Rose against the cage and maul her. Pick her up, you know, rip her arm off, and then beat her with the arm you just ripped off. Just bully her. Jessica Andrade, key to victory number 2. Mix in a healthy dose of takedowns, or at least feint the takedown. If she starts making Rose fear the takedown, that's going to open up a whole new world in the striking department. And not to mention the fact that, yes, Rose is good off her back, but Jessica Andrade is so strong. I think if she takes Rose down, she might be able to posture up and rain down heavy, heavy blows and potentially end the fight there. So not only can she end the fight there if she takes her down, but also it makes the game completely different for her opponent when they're standing. My 3rd key to victory for the challenger, Jessica Andrade, will be to work the body. Work the body, work the body. I have a feeling that Rose, once she feels the power of Jessica Andrade, she's going to be on her bike all night. And as I mentioned in an earlier fight breakdown, hitting the body is like putting money in the bank. It pays off later. So she will slow the movement of Rose down, and then she can get her. Also, it kind of feeds into the whole mix in the takedowns with the striking thing. If she works the body of Rose and mixes in some takedowns, or at least the threat of a takedown, Rose's hands will drop. To A, protect her body, and B, be ready for the takedown defense, right? So if my hands drop, where are you going to hit me? Use your common sense. Okay, now my key 3 victory points for Rose, Thug Rose Namajunas, to remain champion on Saturday night. 1, she must stay off the fence. Jessica Andrade puts chicks against the fence and just mauls them. I mean, we've seen it happen with Tisha Torres. This fight right here, actually. I went to this fight and seeing her in person, man, and Tisha Torres is top-notch women's talent in MMA. It's not a fun place to be with a fighter that's a bully, just a bull like Andrade. So Rose needs to keep her back off the fence. These first 2 keys to victory for Rose tie in together. The second key to victory is get respect from the outside. She's got to get respect from the outside. She might find a little bit of something tangible in the blueprint that Joanna Jędrzejczyk wrote us when she defended against Jessica Andrade. But if you watch that fight, guys, go watch that first couple minutes of the first round. Joanna goes in and decides to exchange with Jessica Andrade, and Jessica clips her with a hook or 2. Joanna's eyes lit up. Her mouthpiece almost flew out of her mouth. And from that point on, she didn't engage in firefights like that. Okay? So my point is, if her back is against the cage, she's in trouble, right? And if she gets respect at distance, and what I mean by getting respect is give Jessica something to fear on the outside, because this distance that I'm talking about, this space right here, is where Rose can win this fight. She can pepper her with a nice solid jab, which will open up other punches. As we all know, the jab is the most important punch because it opens up every other punch. But she also can mix in nice peppering of the inside leg kicks, okay? If she can get the respect of her that way, that's the world she needs to live in. So my first 2 keys to victory go together. Keep your back off the fence and get respect at distance. And then see, that way she can navigate in this area, all right, and keep the bull at bay. My third key to victory is probably the hardest one for Rose, but this is what I truly believe in my heart. Rose needs to channel and become Mohamed Anderson Jones Pierre. You heard it right. She needs to become Mohamed Anderson Jones Pierre. She needs to be the best fighter ever, possibly. She needs to be Bruce Lee. She needs to be water. She needs to be perfect for 25 minutes. Because for 25 minutes, she has... I just peed a little bit. This is how much this woman terrifies me. Jessica Andrade will be coming at her nonstop, trying to kill her for 25 minutes. It's never going to stop the pressure. I love you, Thug. Please listen to me. All right, so here's my predictions for those 3 fights. Alexander Volkanovski is going to finish Jose Aldo in Rio. You think I'm crazy? Write it in the comments below. Jared Cannonier is going to finish Anderson Silva in Rio. Call me crazy. Debate me. Write it in the comments below. And new women's strawweight champion of the world, Jessica Andrade, will finish Thug Rose Namajunas in Rio. Call me crazy. No, seriously. Write whatever you want in the comments below. This is my opinion. That's all it is, an opinion. But let's see how I do come next week. All right, so that's my predictions for those 3. Another thing we're going to do, guys, here on Punchline is we're going to show my DraftKings lineup every week. So let's pull up DraftKings. For those of you who have never done DraftKings before, it's an awesome, easy, inexpensive way for you to bet on MMA, and it's legal. All right, so the way it works is you pick a lineup. Every single player is given a $50,000 salary to spend on a 5 or 6 fighter lineup. I believe it's 5 fighters. But here, we'll look at it here. Okay, so the top, basically the most expensive fighters are the ones that are the biggest favorites. So right off top here, we've got Raoni Barcelos. Let's click on him. Go to the game log. Wow, look at those numbers. In his last 2 fights, guys, he's got 106.5 points and 114 points in the fight before that. This is my number 1 pick for my lineup this week, Raoni Barcelos. So I'm going to go ahead and put him on my lineup there. Okay. Clay Guida's the next most expensive player. I'm not going to pick Clay Guida here. I don't know why. I don't know. I think a lot of people are going to pick Clay Guida. Then we've got Talita Bernardo as next. What? Irene Aldana is third. Okay, Diago Ferreira. I'm not going to touch any of them, guys. In fact, my next pick down here is going to be Jared Cannonier for 8,700. I'm going to put him there. That's my second pick. Okay. I'm going to keep moving here. Keep moving. I'm going to pick up Jessica Andrade next for 8,300. All right, now I've got 3 fights left, guys. 3 fighters, I'm sorry. 3 fighters left. My average remaining player salary can be 7,800. So let's go to my next pick. Okay, I'm going to pick up Thiago Alves. I think he gets a finish here in front of his people, man. 8,200, I'm putting you there. Come on, Pitbull. Moving on, guys. I'm going to pick a little bit of a lot of people might think I'm kind of crazy for this pick. I'm going to pick up Little Nog here for 7,400, okay? This frees up a little bit of room in my remaining cap, which is 7,800 that I have to spend on my last fighter. But I feel like Little Nog really wants that moment that his brother had where he got a win in Brazil and climbs up on the cage and he's got the Brazil flag wrapped around him. I just think, I mean, not only has he obviously earned that, but I think he gets it. All right, and for our last pick here, 7,800, guys, okay? I'm picking up my man, Alexander Volkanovski, to finish Jose Aldo. So there, guys, that's my lineup for this week. And remember, for this episode, our very first episode, for a random person, a viewer, that not only comments, but also subscribes, likes this video, and shares this page, we are sending you an autograph signed something MMA from some MMA person that you would love something signed by. So guys, first of all, I'd like to thank you for tuning into the very first episode of many more to come, Punchline, with your host Justin Sims. But I've also got to get a shout out real quick to Alfonso Wright for producing the show and all the lovely people down at Florida City Entertainment. And also a big shout out to my boy Christian at Grand Duke Productions and Native Boys TV. Check out Swamp Outlaws for editing this video. Thank you, brother. And guys, comment, like, subscribe, share, get free shit. Stay tuned. This is Punchline.